In this video, we are going to build an application called Node Mailer App. And this application is used to send emails, and we are going to use Node.js and Node Mailer package itself. And for the email provider, we are going to use Gmail account. So let's look at the demo for this project, and over here I'm going to enter valid Gmail account or email account. And for the message, I will say message from Node Mailer App and send. And we have email sent successfully. And if I check my Gmail account, as you can see, we have new message for Node Mailer App. And this is a message as message from Node Mailer App. So let's get back to code and see how we are going to develop this application. So I'm going to create a folder called Node Mailer App. And I'm going to open using my preferred code editor. So first step is that I need to create the folders for this project, and I'm going to create one folder called public. And this folder is going to save our static assets, for example, our HTML and CSS. And since we are going to use UJS as our template engines, we need to have views folder and utils folder, and this folder is going to contain the actual function for sending email. For the meantime, let's create the server. So I will add server.js, and let's open the terminal and initialize our project as npm because we need to install third-party packages from npm registry. And this script will give us the default configuration, so let's hit enter. After doing this, we have a file called package.json file, and let's go ahead and install the necessary dependencies. So it's going to be npm I, the express package, the Node Mailer package for sending emails, and we need the UJS template engine. And next step is let's install Node MERN as dev dependencies, and this package is going to help us to restart our server anytime we make changes. So with this one, let's go ahead and configure the package.json file. Over here, it has chosen the name of our file as server.js. So I would like to use Node MERN for this. And I prefer to use server instead of start. So let's go ahead and create the server. Great. So let's bring in the express package as equal to required express. And let's create instance of express as express. And let's create the port as const port is equal to process.env.port. And if it doesn't exist, then let's use 9000. So let's set our view engine. And we are going to use EJS. We're going to be as app.set and then the view engine. And we are going to use EJS. Then next step is that we need to serve the static. All right, so it's going to be app.use as a middleware, then express.static, then you pass in the public folder. So any file we are going to put it inside is going to be served by our server. Next step is we need to pass the data from the form. So we are going to use a middleware on express as app.use, then express.url encoded, and then we pass in extended to false. Then the next step is that we need to create the route to render the form. Let me say render email form. and it's going to be app.get, and it will be at the home route. So command, then the callback function, rec and response. And on the rest, we have a method called render. So we are going to render a template engine or HTML, and I'll provide the HTML for you. So I'm going to drag it and put it inside the views folder. Let's look at the structure. Over here, I used Google Fonts, and I have required the CSS and the title of the application description. And here on the form, we have an attribute called action, and the value is called send mail, meaning that we are going to hit this route anytime we click on submit. For the meantime, it doesn't exist yet, and we will get there very soon. And the method is post. And over here, pay attention about this. The required attribute here is a name. The name here is going to hold the value the user is entering from the form. So here, the name here is email, and the name for the text area is also message. And we have a button to send the email, and we have this HTML here, and this HTML here is going to display error or success. Great. So now let's go ahead and render this particular form. So over here, we are going to pass in the name of the form as email-form. With this one, save it, and let's start our server as npm run server. Right, I need to start the server, I think. Yeah, so down here has start the server as app.listen, then pass in the port, then callback function. Then I will say server is running on port, and I will inject the port. Then save it, and let's check the server is running on this port. So let's go ahead and let me open a new tab, and 9,000, and we have the form. What we are lacking is the CSS, and I'll provide the CSS for you. So I will drag and put it inside the public folder. Save it, and let's refresh it. And now we have it as that. Now that we have the template being rendered by our server, it's time for us to implement the actual logic for sending the email. And we are going to use a package called Node Mailer, as I have explained before. And this package is going to make our life easier to send messages from our Node.js application, and we have already installed it. So inside the utils, I'm going to create one file called send email. And on this file, we are going to require the Node Mailer package as const node mailer is equal to required the Node Mailer package. And the function goes like this: const send email is equal to async and rec and response, and inside bring in try and catch. So here we are going to create what is called transport. So what is transport from Node Mailer? The transporter here is an object that is going to use to specify the email provider's SMTP, which stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and it contains other configurations like host, post, and secured, and our login credentials. So here is going to be as transporter is equal to the Node Mailer dot transporter called create transport. Then pass in object with this configuration, and the first one is called the host. Remember, we can use any kind of email provider, for example SendGrid, to use with Node Mailer, but we are going to use Gmail account, so it's going to be smtp.gmail.com. Then provide the port. These are just configuration from Node Mailer, and they secure as false. And over here we have an object called auth as an object, and provide these properties as user. This user represents your Gmail account and the password of your Gmail account. But this password is not the same as the password you use to log in into your Gmail account, and I will show you how we are going to get this one done. And for me, I'm going to use an account called iNovodev. And the password, like I said, I will show you how we are going to get it. So after we have finished creating the transporter, the next step is the actual message object. So here is going to be const, and oh sorry guys, I made a mistake. This one is not going to take in the request and object, but instead it's going to take the email that we want to send the message to, and then the actual message content, like that. So here is going to be message as an object. Then provide the true, meaning the email that we want to send to, then the subject of the email, and I will say new message from Node Mailer app. And I'll provide the actual content, and I will use HTML because I want to have some customized headings. So here as that, and I'll provide h3. Then I will say you have received. Then the actual message, I'll put it inside p tag, and I'm going to use. Now we are done with the message object. Next step is send the email, and on the transporter we have a method called send email. Then I'll pass in the message, and I want to assign the response to a variable called info equal to that. Then I need to await the function call, and if everything goes on well, I will say message sent. Then I will inject the ID of the message as message ID, and inside here, if something goes wrong, I will go ahead and console log the error, and I will throw new error here so that we can display it to the client as email couldn't. Alright, so last step is let's export it as module.export at send mail. So let's get back to the server file, and we are going to create route to send the email, and it's going to be app.post, and the path is going to be send email and async and callback function rec response and try and catch as that. So inside the try, we are going to call the send email function, the one we just created, and I have required it here as that. And remember, this one takes in the email. And how are you going to get the email? And we can get the email from the values the user is typing in from here. Yeah, which is this. So here we have the value on a property called the rec.body, and let's go ahead and destructure that. We have the email and then the actual message. Take note about this. These properties must be available on the form input as name, which is email, and name as message. And the action is the path or the route, which represents this one. So now I can pass in the email and then the actual message. Great. So with this one, let's go ahead and try out and see the error that we are going to get, and we'll come back and fix it. All right, so let me refresh it and let me enter valid email address or any email address, and I think that it will not send, so it's going to be as that and some message. And let's try send. All right, so let's check the server, and we can see that message could not send, and we have e-auth. And if you scroll up here, we have missing credentials, meaning that we need to pass in the valid details inside the Node Mailer configuration. Here we have our username, but what about the password? How are we going to get the password? And it's going to be pretty easy to get. So let's get back to Gmail account. Make sure to log in to that particular email and click on manage your Google account. And over here, click on security. And we are going to enable two-step verification on our account. For me, I have done it already. And after that, click on that. And we need to log in again with your right login details. Great. So let's scroll down and we have what is called app passwords. For me, I have created one already. So I'll click on that and I'll show you how I did it. So click on app password, which is this. And let me delete the one that I have done already. So over here, we have an option to select an application. So click on this drop down and select other, that's custom name. And let's provide any name, and I'll call mine as Node Mailer and I'll click on create. Make sure to copy this password because after you click on done, you will lose it. So I'll click on done. And next step is that I'm going to paste that one over here. Great. So now let me check my server. It is running, and let me refresh, go to the home route, and let me provide valid email address, which is this. And I will say my message and send. All right, so let's check the server. As you can see, message sent. And if I check my email account, which is this, and we have new email from Node Mailer app. In case you couldn't find your email inside your inbox, click on more and click on spam, and you're gonna see that message over there. So now application is working perfectly. Next step is that we need to provide some feedback to the user, because at this point, you don't know whether the message has been sent or not. So it's going to be pretty easy to do that. So let's get back to the server file, and this is where we are implementing. Remember, after sending, we are not sending anything to the user. So let's send some message to the user, and we are going to use res.render. And we are going to render the same form. So it's going to be email-form. Then comma, you pass in an object. So over here, we need to send some data to this form. So we are going to pass in an object and say that status is equal to success. And the message, you will say email sent successfully. All right, but if something goes wrong, you are going to send the same message here. So here I'm going to remove this, or let me bring it down here. And the message over here is going to be as error. That is the status. And you will say email sending. So now we are passing these values to this template. So on the template of email form here, we have access to that. That is why we have this template here. So I think I need to bring something like this. Yeah. So over here, we have access to the Let me show you one more here. We have access to the status and the message because we are passing in to this. So we are going to make some condition on the template. And for UJS, if you want to write JavaScript inside UJS, you are going to use this syntax. And we can write any valid JavaScript here. Remember, UJS is an extension of HTML. So you're going to make use of if, and we're going to check the type of the status. And if it is not equal to undefined, and if the status and the type of the message we pass into the template is also not equal to undefined, and we have the message, then we will go ahead and bring the curly braces, and we need to close the UJS as that, and also close the UJS here as that. So let's cut this one and put it inside here, and we are going to add the values as this, and it's going to be equal to then the status, and let's also add the actual message. So with this one, let's go ahead and send the email. Let's refresh it, and let me send the message again, and I will say my message, and we have email sent. Alright guys, this is how we can send email from our Node.js application.